the topic I want to get to next is something we run into a lot, because there's no such thing as a perfect home inspection. Having sold thousands of homes, and I think we're approaching $500 million in real estate
Wow.
sold now. I think
Incredible.
we may have passed it. So $500 million in real estate sold. We've pretty much seen it all, and I've never ever heard of a clean inspection report.
Not even on new construction.
No, what you have to understand is an inspector is paid to find things. Their whole goal is to find things wrong with the home, and in doing that, you know, there's going to be a list of items that have to be taken care of. Things that maybe the builder missed, things that the seller missed, old items. You know, every home is going to be different. What I want to start off by saying is, you know, if you're a buyer, really understand what you're buying. The seller doesn't have an obligation to give you a clean inspection report, and if you're not buying a brand new home, you're going to expect some action items. A lot of times, I think you have to think about that inspection report as a blueprint for what you need to do after you own in terms of maintenance and repairs. Now, again, if it's a big ticket item, you know, certainly you can bring it to the seller's attention. But I see stuff sometimes, especially in a market like today, where the buyers are sending back this laundry list of stuff that they want to, and it's a bidding war type house. It's like, look, we got like 7 offers behind you, and I'm sure one of them will look at this inspection report and not care about, you know, the one outlet not being GFI, you know, approved in the garage, you know, like that no one's ever going to use because it's above the garage door
light
opener.
switch cover.
Right, you know, so it's you know, what I would tell you is I would not ask for everything on that report. I think you know, you run the risk of losing the deal, especially in a market like today. One important thing to note, I think is really important. A lot of agents make this mistake, and a lot of buyers and sellers don't understand it, but I would say the majority of contracts today are as-is contracts. So, and this is based on advice from attorneys and legal counsel. As-is contracts give the buyers 2 options. They can move forward, they can cancel. The contract doesn't allow them to ask for repairs. Even asking for repairs gives the seller, and we've had this happen, gives the seller the ability to say, you're defaulting on the contract, we're canceling your contract and moving forward with someone else. So you have to really, you have to approach that with a fine-tooth comb if your agent or you choose to use an as-is contract, because the seller may, and again, every contract's different, the terms and conditions are different, every addendum, there's a whole bunch of different FAR bar, FAR 9, there's so many different contract forms used, so this is not blanket across all of them, it varies, but you could be at risk. You know, if they're asking for repairs, the contract may not allow for it, so you make sure you read the contract. Right. Some people don't read it, you know, read it, like know what you're signing. They sign it, and then when something happens that they don't like, they get mad, but it's because they didn't read it. But you may not have the right to ask for repairs, so make sure you have the right to ask for repairs. Now, here's the reality of what happens in some of those instances. The agent makes sure not to put it in writing, or makes it words it a certain way, or keeps it vague enough to where they're asking for repairs, but not, kind of a thing. Like, we're
Right.
going to cancel, but we'd really like you to do these things and keep the deal together, you know? So, but ultimately, you know, I think another really important caveat to this, I like to think of it financially, personally. I don't like hassling over who's doing what repair, and then the buyer doesn't like the company that was used, or the buyer wants to see a receipt, but the seller did it themselves, and the request for repairs didn't require a company. You know, and then you jump through all these hoops about proving the repairs that you did and who you had do them. I would just prefer to do a credit. You know, let the buyer take care of the repairs, and you're not hassling with the repairs not being done. I'd rather put a monetary value on it and do a credit or a reduction in price. I think that's the most logical way to go, but I can tell you it's not always the way that it goes. I think, you know, thinking big picture is also something that's important. You know, if you're, you know, hassling over something in the bathroom and you're planning on renovating the bathroom, then don't hassle over it. Why are you going to really have them, you know, fix something that you're going to end up redoing? Especially in a market like today. I think, and it ebbs and flows with the market. Can buyers get more repairs and hassle more over repairs in a buyer's market? Yeah. In a seller's market, that seller may say, adios, or you may tick them off, and they may want to look for a reason to get you out of the contract, you know, because or, you know, you beat them up on repairs, and then guess what happens? Your lender ain't done on time.
Right.
What do you think's going to happen now? You were a jerk to the seller over repairs. You ran over the coals. You said, I want you to fix everything and paint everything and make them jump through hoops. And then guess what happens? It's, February 28th, and your lender isn't ready, and you need 2 more weeks. And the seller says, pound sand. Goodbye, adios amigo, you were a jerk, and you maybe fix a whole bunch of meaningless stuff, and now you want me to help you. And I got 4 people behind you that called me while the home was under contract, ready to step in and replace you, and not be a jerk.
And potentially get more money because now they've just fixed a bunch of stuff.
Right, and sometimes people will pay more because they missed out and they regret not paying more. I can't tell you how many times that happens, and so I think that's, that negotiating those repairs is something that both buyer and seller have to take with a fine-tooth comb. On the other side of it, if you're a seller and you don't have any backups, and if there are repairs that you now have to disclose to the next buyer, which is yes, if they're structural, so if there are repairs that are needed and the seller now has to disclose them to the next buyer, could it be the scarlet letter of the house, and could you now have to jump through hoops and sit on the market, eat months and months of payments? So it's a case-by-case basis as to who's in the leveraged position. One other thing I'll say that I think is important on the negotiating repairs is knowing what the contract allows. So obviously, I've already told you about the as-is contract. It really doesn't allow for you to request for repairs. You get to cancel or you get to move forward. That's pretty much, it's black and white. If you're using one of the contracts that does allow for repairs, repairs are strictly limited to things that are not working as they should, structural items, things not working. If you don't like the paint, if there's something cosmetically wrong, that's not an inspection item. A scratched tile, a scratched wall, cosmetics are not contractual. You can ask for it, but the seller can say no, that's not contractual. Which is, again, you get into a he said, she said about what's wrong, what's not wrong. It's why I prefer to really think about doing it financially. What? How about we give you credit and you take care of whatever you want? Because then you don't have the hassle, and it's just easier and cleaner.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see that a lot too, where you're going back and forth about, well, my inspector says this,
right.
Well, my inspector says this.
Atlantic Bay, for instance, we don't require home inspections, so we don't want to be involved in that process at all. The only time that I like to see stuff repaired is if it's needed for homeowners insurance, for instance,
correct,
or if it's an appraisal issue.
Yeah, so that's I think another thing to keep in mind, because you may have to negotiate repairs multiple times. Right. You're negotiating repairs at the home inspection. You could potentially be negotiating repairs if the appraiser finds something that's not considered safe, or that doesn't meet a lender's criteria that would cause a lender not to want to loan on the home. And then, like you said, from insurance purposes, a 4-point inspection when the home meets a certain age. So what generally can be to, I think, everybody's benefit, but unfortunately it doesn't always work this way, and it can't always be forced this way. But wouldn't it sure be nice to have all of the due diligence done during a certain period and deal with the repairs once? And have the appraisal done?
Some states do that.
Yeah, and we do. I would say we do that a lot. And the tough part is that the buyers will push back on that because they don't want to spend money for the inspection and the appraisal and go through the insurance if one of those checks doesn't have something they like.
Exactly.
So they spend the money on the inspection, and then there's issues that they don't like. They want to cancel the deal before they have to pay for the appraisal. So it can be sometimes problematic. It's easier to do the higher the price you go, because if you're talking about $1 million customer, 800, 600, higher priced homes in our market, the buyer, I wouldn't say they don't care about losing $1,000+, but it's less of an impact for them. It's less important for them, so it's more likely that they'll be willing to do it. And then you tie all the contingencies up at once. You've done the inspection, you've done the appraisal, you've done the homeowner's insurance 4-point, and you know all the things that the buyer are asking for, and you do it once.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's not always the case. The higher the price you go, the more likely you can negotiate that. A lot of times it can't happen. In a perfect world, boy, it sure would be nice to have all that done, and then you deal with it once.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think that's something that would really benefit our market and our contracts, but I didn't write them, so maybe they should have consulted with me, because I think that would save everybody a whole lot of hassle and frustrations. But the reality is that, like I said, a lot of buyers aren't willing to risk both doing the appraisal and the inspection and the 4-point all up front, with the risk that maybe the deal doesn't happen.
Exactly. I have people all the time I'd say 95% of the time, they want to wait until that home inspection's back, complete it, they review before they even think about ordering that appraisal, because they don't want to pay for it if, you know, there's issues with the house that they can't come to an agreement on, or the
Right, if
seller
there's
won't
this
fix.
active sinkhole, they don't wanna pay for the appraisal, right,
Exactly.
you know? But at the same time, I think in today's market, if you had the right professionals on your side, and you said, hey, look, I'm gonna drive a lot of business to you, but I need you to be able to hit these timelines. You know, inspection day 5, appraisal day 10,
Right.
4-point day 13, the contingencies are due day 15. You know, I think it could be done, it's just, the tough part is when our market gets really busy, it's hard for some of those people to get that stuff done in 5 days.
Right.
We've had, you know, when it's hot, you know, when the market's hot, I mean, sometimes you're a couple of weeks out for an inspection.
Exactly.
It just gets really busy.